Hey guys, welcome to another fun-filled episode of Twin Flicks. Today's going to be a little different. We're going to do a video with our friend Dan, who's joined us today for a special video. You guys know Dan; he's been on the show before. Today we're going to start a director spotlight video on Quentin Tarantino, but we got to have an intro, right? We got to have a little intro here. So let's get kicked
and hopefully a nice music drop.
All right, let's kick in with the intro. Wasn't that awesome? That was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Pretty solid, man.
I am a creative genius.
Well, that's debatable, but yeah.
Actually, I haven't mentioned this to you yet, but I was thinking maybe we could do some of these spotlight videos from time to time on different directors.
Yeah, we can talk. I'm down for that. I think after like 2 failed shows, I think a third time's a charm.
Yeah, well, I think this one will be a little easier, and you guys out there watching this may watch this more than the other videos.
Oh yeah, I mean Tarantino, he's a brand, and we're gonna get into it, which is great.
Oh yeah. Actually, over the past, maybe 15 years, we've started to see actors aren't the star of the movie anymore. It's directors. Christopher Nolan. Tarantino's definitely up there. I mean, he's probably more famous than Christopher Nolan is, if I'm to be honest.
Oh, yeah, and I think he's more outspoken, too. I mean, he recommends a movie, people go see it.
Exactly.
It becomes like a cult following because of Tarantino.
So we're going to rank our favorite Tarantino movies from 10 to 1, 1 being the best. And this was a hard list.
Well, I think I had a little asterisk to this. I added the books and podcasts, and anything that he's been involved in is kind of up for grabs here, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you what your criteria was. My criteria, just to make it easier on me, because there was so much... I just stuck with, I did an honorable mention for his writing, and then I stuck with just his directing and writing. And my criteria was rewatchability value. You know, if I was to say, okay, I feel like watching a Tarantino movie, which one am I going to watch? And so that's kind of what I stuck with. So
I also did rewatchability, as that's like a huge factor on this list, and it's honestly ever changing. Like it'll change tomorrow. Like I'm sure some like 8 or 9 will switch or something. I'm curious to see what you have, though. I have 3 honorable mentions.
Okay. I have, I think, 1 or 2. Nice. So I guess the best way to do this, we'll just throw back and forth. If you want to start maybe with your honorable mention, then I'll do my honorable mentions, and then we'll go on to the list.
So I'll do all 3?
Do that. Yeah, might as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, Paul, thanks for having me on, as always. Video Archive Podcast. I didn't
have a choice.
Video Archive Podcast has to be one of the honorable mentions. It came out 2022. Him and Roger Avery, who won the Oscar with Pulp Fiction for writing with, they give out these awesome recommendations like every other week or so, and it's a great show. If you guys haven't listened to it, all they cover is mostly VHS titles, like stuff that they had at the Video Archives video store when they worked together. So it's kind of a cool podcast. My next one is a surprise, probably. Reservoir Dogs.
Really?
Is a honorable mention, yeah. I like it, but I think once you know how it ends and, you know, who's the rat and all that, I don't want to go into total spoilers on everything, or how do you feel about spoilers?
Everybody's seen these movies.
Okay.
We can spoil away. This is all spoiler.
Okay, once you know the rat, and I just felt like, you know, on this rewatch recently, it just didn't hold up as well as his other movies. And I think that Tarantino's even said that he was more capturing the dialogue or capturing the scenes than directing.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of ranked this one a little lower. But it does have my favorite opening credits song, Little Green Bag song, when they're walking out in slow motion. I just love that sequence. Yep.
Yeah.
It really sets the mood for the movie. And then I got one more. This came out last year, Cinema Speculation. If you guys are into new Hollywood cinema, grindhouse, exploitation, or just you want to know more what Tarantino thinks about movies in general, this is the book for you.
A majority of that is 70s movies, right?
Right. Yeah, like the new Hollywood stuff from '69 to like '82.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, which is like the prime for movies. And
definitely. I agree. I think that's my favorite era.
one thing I wanted to point out though before we start the ranking is, he directed an episode of ER. I think he directed like 2 episodes of CSI, and
Alias too. I think he was on
yeah,
there.
the Alias.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're not going to rank those because it's TV. We're talking about the actual film, theatrical that was shown theatrical. Unless you had some of those in there.
Gosh, I would throw in even this Top Gun monologue that's on the internet. I forgot what movie it is
Oh
from,
yeah,
but
that's
I just,
Roger Avery's movie.
yeah, yeah.
I forget what movie that was. Yeah, I mean it's all great, but I'm kind of sticking with featured films. Is what I'm sticking with.
Right, yeah.
So my honorable mention would be for his writing because my actual ranking is going to be directing and writing. So honorable mention for writing is True Romance, of
Wow,
course.
okay.
Gotta have. I mean, if he directed this would probably be in the ranking pile. But True Romance for sure. I loved the writing in it. I'm not sure how much was changed between his screenplay to
Listen to
screen.
the commentary from Quentin Tarantino, and
Oh, is it on there?
He actually wrote it out of order, like Pulp Fiction.
Oh, really? Okay.
He said a
I
lot
haven't
of it
listened to
wasn't
the
changed.
commentary.
Yeah, listen to it. Tony Scott only used one of his songs that was in the script, and then Tony Scott chose the rest.
Oh, okay.
But as far as that, he's very happy with the adaptation.
All right. So they didn't butcher it like they did with Natural Born Killers,
Yeah.
which is why I was going to do that as honorable mention, but I didn't because Oliver Stone butchered the crap out of that movie.
What about Crimson Tide? I heard he had like a little bit of a
Yeah. He
did a little bit of rewrite on that or something.
Yeah, he did some rewrites on it as well. Another honorable mention, and this is for his directing, is his segment of Sin City.
Yeah, that's good pull. Yeah.
Because he did that one little segment when Clive Owen, right? Yeah, Clive Owen is driving in the car. But so that's an honorable mention there because I love the way he directed that scene.
Now I'm really curious what you have in your top 10 because I mean,
Yeah.
guys, honestly, everything is great. Like,
I-
all the movies are really good, and it's tough to choose.
Yeah, I figured that Reservoir Dogs would be on the list, but I was thinking it'd be on the number 10 or 9 on the list.
It was at 10, and then I watched another movie, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, Tarantino admits himself it does not hold up, and when you rewatch it, it's pretty dated. And after you've seen his filmography, and then you go back to Reservoir Dogs, it's kind of like, yeah, the directing in this isn't that great. It's it's like he was like what you said, photographing dialogue instead of characters, and like you brought out, he said himself that if he had the chance to redirect it, it would be completely different.
I was like, he was like teasing that for his 10th film, or like jokingly saying it, like I'll do that with like an all black cast, but I'll redo it. I mean,
Yeah,
which would be really cool.
Yeah. I mean,
And then they had the whole like the rumored spinoff, like the Vega brothers.
Oh
that
yeah,
was like a big rumor for a while.
Well, he wanted to do that since Pulp Fiction came out. I remember him talking about that back then. So it'll be interesting to see what he does for his 10th film. I'm honestly hoping it's Kill Bill 3 because ever since Kill Bill 1 came out. And again, this is spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen it, tough. In Kill Bill 1, she kills Vivica A. Fox's character and leaves her daughter alone and says, when you're old enough, you can avenge your mother's death. And from Kill Bill 1, Tarantino's always said he wanted to do Beatrice's daughter versus her daughter for the final chapter. And over the past couple of years, there's been rumors that he wanted to cast Maya Hawke.
It's perfect. I mean, it's really perfect. It's right there.
It's perfect. I'm hoping that's his 10th movie.
But would you consider that just one movie then, all Kill Bills? Or just 1 and 2, one movie, and then have that be the sequel, I guess?
That's hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like I want it to be one full movie, but at the same time, it's so... I mean, what has it been? Over 10 years now, right? And
yeah. 2004? Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
Dude,
So
it's almost 20 years.
20 years. Dang. Holy crap. I didn't think it's been that long. Dang. Yeah, 20
I think
years.
she's old enough now.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd probably put it as its own movie because his style of directing has also changed as he's
I think
gone,
it would still become like
older.
his Man with No Name trilogy type thing too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, and if you have any memorabilia that you want to show when you rank the movie, let's show them. Because I got one here that I forgot about until now. I picked this up after I saw Sin City in theater. I got a
wow.
ID card case and a lighter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I picked this up over at Suncoast Video. Like I saw Sin City.
Suncoast, are they still in business?
No, I don't think so.
That place.
But yeah, this came out in 2005, and I saw it in theater, and and afterwards, me and Simon went to Suncoast Video, and I saw this. I'm like, oh, I got to get this. This would be cool. I don't think it's worth anything, but it's from Mecca, which is a good company. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So that's unopened because in case it's worth anything in 40 years. Yeah,
People might find it at Goodwill or something. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Walk into a Goodwill in Texas and you'll find it. All right, well, let's get to it. I'm going to start off with yours. Right. Number 10.
Based on the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the novel. I chose this because it's different than the movie. Gives us a little more context, a little more insight into like Rick Dalton's filmography, what happens to him after the movie, what he goes on to do, how Cliff met Brandy the dog. There's a scene, there's more bounty law, there's
nice.
A full script of Lancer in here and a bounty law script.
Oh really?
There's
that's cool.
It even ends differently than the film, which I thought was fascinating. The whole idea of a novelization after the movie came out is also interesting to me. So if you guys are a big fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I definitely recommend this movie or this book.
Yeah, try to pop it in your player, see if it works.
Yeah, exactly. It won't work. But honestly, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, there's a chapter 2 where Cliff goes to the cinema, and he's a big foreign film guy, so he kind of gives you his critique of each of the movies. So it's definitely well worth it. Yeah, I'm not a huge reader, and I read this, quite quickly. So
yeah, I haven't read the book, but I started reading like excerpts from it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, with Cliff and his wife.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow.
Yeah. They reveal that he actually did kill her, and they go through how
he did it.
How he did it.
And then Brandy, how he got Brandy. Man, it makes me wonder though. Did he think of that while writing the script, or was it an afterthought? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what
I know that they did shoot the chapter that ends the movie.
Oh,
they actually filmed it. Yeah, they actually filmed Julia Butters and Leo DiCaprio doing that whole back and forth. They're like practicing their lines.
Oh, really?
And that's how the movie ends. And they actually shot that. So hopefully they release that someday. And also the Drinkers Hall of Fame scene, he actually writes himself into the movie. Quentin Tarantino is like a little boy in the book.
Oh, really?
He's observing like his uncle playing piano and Rick Dalton being there and talking about Steve McQueen or something. So he writes himself kind of meta, writes himself into the universe.
That's kind of cool. He always put himself in every movie.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's your number 10?
So my number 10, and this is a segment, 4 Rooms. Do you know about that segment?
No, I don't
go
at
into
all.
A little bit about
I thought it was a movie.
No, well, it's 4 Rooms is a movie,
like
but it's directed
anthology.
It's an anthology directed by 4 different directors. It's not a good movie. I don't really care for the movie except for Tarantino's segment. It's great.
So can I just watch his segment?
I don't know. It might be on YouTube.
Or do I have to like watch the other segments to know what's
going on? No. It doesn't. They don't go into each other. They're 4 completely different stories. The only connective tissue in there is Tim Roth. He's the bellboy.
Okay.
And it all takes place in this hotel in 4 rooms.
Oh,
And
man.
that's the only connective tissue. Otherwise, the stories don't connect at all. I don't know if you want me to go into it because I wanted to.
Go for it, man. I should have seen it. Go for it.
So Tim Roth is a bellboy, and he gets called up to the penthouse suite. Tarantino's there, and a bunch of other people. I think they're actors, I believe.
Is he playing himself?
No. The point of the story is that he goes into the penthouse, and they place a bet, and where I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but basically they chop off the guy's fingers, or the one finger if he gets it wrong, I think, and they make Tim Roth do it with a hatchet or a butcher knife. And I love the very ending because Tarantino says, "I'll give you this much money if you chop off his finger," and he goes, "Okay," and he grabs the money and walks off. And the way it ends is so good because it's a little unexpected, and then the music and Tim Roth's acting. I mean, it's just a real fun segment. Yeah. All right, let's move into number 9.
Number 9 for me is part of the Grindhouse double feature, Death Proof. So,
Yep.
Chose that.
Wait, hold on. Let me see your Grindhouse double feature because I think mine looks different.
Probably.
Okay, that's the same as mine. But now open it up. Okay, you bought that used, didn't you?
No, I got it on Amazon for free, or like not for free, for $5.
Weird, because that's what it's supposed to look like.
Well, looks like they screwed me over, man.
Because that is
the extended editions.
Yeah, that is this.
Right.
They come with this.
Right.
That is not. Yeah.
Correct.
So you're missing
not
out.
What I thought it was.
Yeah, this version is. Hold on a second.
Okay, so the thing is, though, I've had several versions of this movie over. I didn't like it for the longest time.
Really?
Didn't care for it at all. No, not at all. And then this past year, I started hanging out with you and watching like the exploitation. I'm serious. It's watching the exploitation stuff.
This year, I've been hanging out with you. It's all your fault.
Like thriller and stuff like that. So I kind of started going more into horror, like at least in the past 5 years, and then rewatching it this week for the show. Like, man, this is actually pretty good. Pretty entertaining, and because at first I could only make it through like 5 minutes because like these girls are talking too much. I mean, and I still think there's a pacing problem. I think
there is.
It's a little too long at times, but man, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely creative.
Yeah, that was the major complaint that a lot of people had. First of all, I'm just going to say it right now that Death Proof was my number 7. So Death Proof is my number 7 because I want to start talking. Off. Yeah, I want to talk about it. So Death Proof is my number 7. But when that movie came out, Grindhouse, it was a huge bomb. Nobody went to go see it. I went to go see it with Simon and a friend of ours on the opening night, and there was only like 2 other people there. And I was like, oh no. But, that's the major complaint that everybody had is people seem to really like Planet Terror, but they didn't like Death Proof. And the only major complaint they had was so much talking before anything happens. So much talking. And it's even worse on the director's cut.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it does. I mean, it's like, okay, come on, I get it. Let's move on. But then once it gets to the second half of the movie, I mean, it takes off, and it reminds me of movies like Bullet. It reminds me of other exploitation movies. Oh man, I was thinking the name earlier.
I still don't know how they did it, like in camera, like some of the like when
Zoe Bell,
the stuntman is that too. Oh. I know they strapped her to the car and stuff.
Oh yeah,
but before that, when the stuntman's killing the 3 girls in the car.
Oh man.
I mean, that was crazy.
And I love that. I love the scene how they did it, the music, the editing. I mean, and then the close up it shows the tire running over her face. I mean,
you
it's
see
just
a
like
leg flying in there, and then the other girl gets her head smushed. It's like it's all in camera. Like there's like no CGI that I'm aware of.
No,
So,
yeah, it was all
practical effects.
Practical, and that's kind of what really bothered me when people said they didn't like this movie, or it's the worst Tarantino movie, because they put in so much work into that movie. I mean, and Kurt Russell. I think you told me this that what's his name? What's his
Mickey
face?
Rourke. Yeah,
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah,
Mickey Rourke was originally, or I don't know if he was actually cast, but he was Tarantino's first choice.
Yeah, Tarantino went to his house, I guess, several times, and his agent, for whatever reason, kind of sabotaged it for Mickey. So
maybe he figured it was going to bomb, and he was right. But anyways, Kurt Russell is fantastic in that movie. Stuntman Mike. I mean, he's so charismatic. He comes off, when you first meet him, something's not right with this guy. Nothing's not right with this guy, but he's so charismatic. You're like, maybe I got the wrong vibe on him. I loved it too because they're in the chase, and I think it's when they run him off the road, and he pops up from his car door looking over his hood, and he starts laughing. And like it's a game to him. It's a complete game to him. Like, and he thinks that they're in the game with him, that they're actually, in on it with him. And I just love it.
Do you know where Tarantino got the name from?
Stuntman Mike?
No, Death Proof.
Oh, Death Proof. No, I don't remember.
He was looking at getting a new car and was talking to Sean Penn, and Sean Penn's like, "Yeah, just make sure it's Death Proof." I guess he was riding around in like a crappy car, and then he had the money to get a good car or a safer car.
Yeah,
he tells it better than I do. It's on one of those podcasts.
That's funny.
It's like a Real Cinema podcast, Real Blend, maybe that's what I don't know. One of those.
Oh, okay. But, yeah, Real Blend. They did like a 2.5 hour podcast with him.
They've done like 4 parts with
yeah, it's crazy, and it's real. It gets suspenseful too because when Zoe Bell's hanging on the hood of the car, and
she's really doing that too. Like she is a stunt woman.
The stunt
woman for Kill Bill. So.
Yeah, I think that was her first Tarantino movie that she was in, and then he's used her in like almost I think every movie since then. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great movie. I mean, Quentin Tarantino himself says it's not a good movie. He doesn't consider it a good movie or one of his best. And I think I was telling you when we were talking about doing this video, if that's his worst movie, then I think he's good. Exactly. I think he's well off because it's still better than most of the crap that's out there.
It's better than most of the grindhouse genre stuff that I've seen.
So, I
mean, that's what they were going for.
And
you saw it in theaters. Like I will get to it later, but there's a movie that I hadn't discovered Tarantino at this point. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
When did this come out? Anyways.
2007.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hadn't discovered him yet.
Oh wow. Yeah. I mean, I discovered him with Reservoir Dogs in what 92 was it? 92 I think.
So you think it's gotten worse over years? Or we'll get to it. Let's try and
Reservoir Dogs. Yeah, I'll get a little bit more to it when I get to my spot. That was
my 9.
No, 9. Okay, so my number 9, and people may really hate me for this, but in my opinion, it's not his worst because I don't think he's ever made a worst movie, but it's definitely not my favorite. The Hateful Eight.
Okay.
I love the writing. I mean, the cinematography is absolutely beautiful in this movie. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the movie at all. But again, if I was to say, if someone's come to me and say, which Tarantino movie would you recommend me watching? This would not be in my top 3.
Right. I agree. It's my number 8. So
I don't know. I don't know how to explain what I didn't like about it because there's so much I did like about it. But
I'll tell you what I didn't like about it was I went to the road show and came back from intermission, and then there's a voiceover by Tarantino that took me out of it. I was like, what is he doing?
Really?
Like, why is he doing it to the voiceover? He's like basically explaining like there's been poison in the coffee.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. I'm like, what is this? Come on. We just had like Brewster and Son sucking off Samuel Jackson, and they were going to intermission.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of took me out of the movie too. Is Tarantino voiceover? I don't
Yeah.
think his voice fit the movie at all.
No, it didn't. That was the thing. It's like it didn't fit at all.
He sure thinks it did, but it didn't. And I'm going to get into more about him inserting into his movies a little bit later.
I got to
All right.
say though, I really liked what's her name, Jennifer Jason Leigh. I
Oh
thought she
yeah,
was great in this movie.
yeah, she was really good. I mean, they were all good. Walter Coggins was great. I mean,
Bruce Dern, just
Bruce
the
Dern.
terror when Samuel Jackson's telling the story about seeing his son and what happens there. It's just like that. I watched that scene on YouTube a lot. Like,
Oh really?
I'll watch scenes from this movie once in a while, but I have yet to really go back and do a full-on rewatch since theaters. To be honest with you,
So that was my number 9. That was your number 8.
he had it as just real quick. He had it
Oh.
as like I believe it was like there was like a reading of it that was public, and then like the script got leaked or something, and then it went right into
Yeah.
production. So I feel like this might have been better as a play.
Well, with that whole thing, I think it was him trying to get it made because nobody
Oh.
wanted to get it made, and it's kind of like what Ryan Reynolds did by leaking
That could be, yeah.
so-called test footage of I was going to say Daredevil of Deadpool to get it made, and he leaked it, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the whole story behind that is interesting because he wrote the script, then all of a sudden he says that he gave it to a couple people to read, and all of a sudden it's leaked. Spielberg ended out reading it, Scorsese read it, some other people read it, and then he says in the interview, he says, well, since everybody read it, I gotta make the movie now.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like I think he did that to get the movie made or to help
It could be.
hype the movie more. But yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's just not my favorite. So my number 8 is Reservoir Dogs.
Okay. All right.
And the reason why I say that is, yeah, well, everything that we talked about before, but at the time this came out, it was revolutionary. I mean, it showed that independent cinema was here again back in 92. I didn't see it back in 92. I did see it before Pulp Fiction. I think I saw it in 93 probably.
Did you see it at home video then?
Yeah, I saw it at home video. And the first time I heard about this was on Siskel and Ebert. And they gave a review of it, and they hated this movie. They
Really?
hated it. They said that the
I'm surprised.
Yeah, they said the violence was gratuitous. It was unnecessary. You know, they didn't like the dialogue. They said it was unnecessary language and a bunch of stuff. They did not like it at all. And in fact, at the end of I watched the review a couple days ago just to refresh my memory. And at the end of the interview, he says he seems to be a good filmmaker. So let's see if his next movie will be any better. As we all know, it was way better. But yeah, still, even though now you watch it, it's kind of dated, it's still, the writing is so good. And first time watch, you don't know who the rat is until the very ending.
The first time watch is the best, I think, for this movie. And then once you figure out, you see the violence, you see the ear coming off, the stuck in the middle with you scene, you see all that stuff kind of goes away with after every rewatch for me.
The tracking shots of the bank robbery, the bank heist when they're running down the street, and the steady, I don't know, I think they use a steady cam shot of him going around the car with Tim Roth shooting at the Steve Buscemi shooting at the cops. I mean, it's so well done. Even with its
you have
faults.
you have the Tarantino signature out of order, script, storytelling, type thing.
Yeah.
It put him on the map.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
Number 7. It's one of your honorable mentions. True Romance.
Oh, okay.
Now
Great
this
movie.
was the first movie I watched ever. I guess written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott. I watched it in the film class.
Oh, really?
And
So that's the first time you watched it, was in film class?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep. College. Watched it in a film class and really enjoyed it. I mean, you have the whole fantasy of going to the movies and a hot chick talks to you at the movies, and you go hang out at your your place. You work at a comic book store, and you're next thing you know, you're getting married to her, like in the beginning of the movie. And then
Fantasies.
you're talking to Elvis. I mean, yeah, the whole thing's like a big fantasy, which I
Yeah.
really like. Gary Oldman is great. I mean,
Oh, Gary Oldman's. I personally think he's the best thing out of the movie. I mean, he's so good in that movie.
oh, I love Dennis Hopper too, and Christopher Walken. That scene is so good.
Yeah.
The interrogation.
Oh yeah, the dialogue in that scene is
Yeah,
just perfect.
yeah. I mean, I like the movie a lot, but I know it's a little lower on the list because it wasn't directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Okay, so my number 6, and people may hate me because it's not up higher on the list, but I did originally have it higher on the list, and then it kept going down, 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 and that is Pulp Fiction.
Okay,
It's my number 6.
It's very close.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my number 4.
number 4. Okay, yeah, I mean, this is the movie that made him Quentin Tarantino. I mean, after this movie, everybody knew who Quentin Tarantino was. I'm going to show real. I showed this before. There it is. I showed this before on my 4K comparison review, but I'm just going to show it one more time because I want to. So this is just a menu of Jack Rabbit Slims. Got on there. Somebody got the $5 milkshake on there. This came with a special edition. I think it was a 2-disc special edition DVD. Came with it, and I didn't hold on to a DVD, but I held on to this.
I really think that they had better special stuff usually, like with DVD and Blu-ray.
They did.
They don't really have the swag as much now in America, anyway.
No, definitely not. I mean, now anniversary editions are just a steelbook, and nothing special to them. But that's a whole other subject I can go on about. So I was 16 when this came out. At the time when this came out, it was a huge controversy. I mean, you never see this anymore. But when this came out, I mean, I remember it being on the news. On the news, they were telling parents not to take young kids to see this movie.
That's probably what my parents did. They
Yeah.
they didn't let me watch this ever.
Because the news overblew it. They made it sound like it was this raunchy, over-the-top gore fest type movie. I mean, I remember that, and they were saying it has sadism in it. The language is so perverse. It's so disgusting. It's the worst you've ever heard. But because of that, I don't know how it was in other areas. So I'm interested to know if people out there watching this, what your area was like. But where I grew up was Oregon, Portland, Oregon area. And they had notices on the box office, paper notices on box office saying Pulp Fiction, rated R, put White's rated R, in big bold letters, no admittance without a parent or guardian. It didn't even say under 17. They weren't letting anybody in under, I guess, 18 see this movie unless you had a parent with you. Well, what was it? My family, Simon, my parents went to go see a movie one night. I forget what it was. And it might have been Waterworld.
It might have been.
Probably was. It might have been Waterworld. And me and Simon walked by the theater the auditorium was playing in. They actually had 2 ushers standing on both sides of the doorway. You had to show your ID to go see this
that's
thing.
like side note real quick. That's like Wedding Crashers for me. Like I was underage and they ID'd me 3 times. I was like 17. They ID'd me three different things every time I went to the bathroom. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Anyway, but yeah. So that's crazy, man.
But what's funny is that I went to the bathroom. Of course, I made like I was going to go to the bathroom, but in my mind I'm thinking I'm going to sneak in and catch a peek of this movie. And they weren't there. The ushers weren't there. So I walked in, I on the door, it had a big sign on there, plastered, no admittance without parental guardian. I opened the door and I saw just a snippet of this movie. And then all of a sudden, I felt a hand on my shoulder and the guy's like, "You're not supposed to be in here." And I said, "Oh, okay, sorry." And then he said, "Yeah, what movie are you seeing?" I told him what movie I was seeing. He said, "Okay, you go back now."
What scene was it? Do you remember what scene it was?
I think it was during the Jack Rabbit Slim scene. I think it was during that scene. And oh no, wait, no. It was while he was taking Uma Thurman after she OD'd, and he's driving to
Oh wow!
Eric Stoltz. That scene, because I remember the car driving down the street and he's yelling.
Now the ushers don't care.
Yeah, oh, they don't give a crap anymore.
No.
I mean, when Sin City came out, it was 2005, I took my nephew to see it, and he was 13, 14.
Yeah.
And I took him to see it, and they don't care anymore. They don't give a
Right.
crap anymore. This is actually the one movie, this and, well, Showgirls. But this and Showgirls are the only two movies I remember where they were actually that heavy on not letting anybody in to see the movie. And but now I think it's just so different at times because it's almost 30 years now. Next year will be 30
Yep.
years? Yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about his acting, though.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
I think that is the worst part of the movie.
I do too.
He's not a good actor. He is not a good actor. He sucks as an actor.
I think.
And Django Unchained, I watched that the other night. When he's trying to do that Australian accent, it's horrible. I mean, it's awful.
I'm just glad he blew himself up. That makes up for it.
That's why I clapped when he blows himself up. Like, oh, good. I would be embarrassed if I was a director and I rewatched my movie and I saw that. I'll be thinking, oh, that's embarrassing. I don't want that.
Yeah, that was my number 4, so we can just kind of go ahead at my number 4 spot, just so.
Okay, yeah, I think we've talked about Pulp Fiction enough. So my number 5. Oh, wait, did you do your number 6?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, your number 6.
Mine is the Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2. This is my number 6.
Good.
They've grown on me as I've gotten older and just more into film and stuff, because this is definitely a blend of. I mean, there's anime in this. There's martial arts. There's drama. There's revenge. It's a revenge story. It's exploitation. It's a nice blend of everything, and I think it's his first, because he took a break between Jackie Brown and Kill Bill. I don't know how many years that there was a break, but there was quite a bit of break there. This is probably his first epic.
Yeah, and that is my number 5. And
so we're close.
Yeah. And yes, we are counting these as one movie because Quentin Tarantino himself counts it as one movie, and it would have been one movie if Harvey Weinstein didn't split it up.
Yeah, it was shot as one movie.
Yeah, and I mean, just terrific. I actually like number 2 better than number 1.
I do too. I like the pacing a lot better.
Actually, after Simon and I saw Kill Bill 2, on the way home, we said to each other, Tarantino's matured as a filmmaker. I mean, because when you look at Kill Bill 1 and the 2 movies ahead before that, it's completely different. It's more mature filmmaking.
It is.
Yeah.
It's definitely restrained. It's more character pieces, but you're still getting the nice action. And what a monologue by David Carradine about Superman.
Yeah.
And that whole thing at the end. And Uma Thurman, she gives everything in this performance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman wrote the script together. I mean, they conceived of the entire story and they wrote the scripts together.
And after going back and seeing like One Eye, Thriller, and then watching Lady Snowblood, the inspirations kind of for Kill Bill.
Yeah.
I appreciate it more now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, this is when he really started drawing inspiration from all these different movies. I mean, Daryl Hannah, I think her name is Ellie, right? Yeah, when she's walking down the hospital, the way she's dressed in that fake nurse uniform and the split screens, it's 100% Brian De Palma.
Yep.
I mean, he's drawn inspiration from everyone. He's picked stuff from Lady Snowblood, Thriller, Brian De Palma, and he just smashes it all into this one movie. But what I like about what Quentin Tarantino does, even though he takes a lot from other movies, he makes it his own instead of just copying it. And that's what sets him apart.
My 5 is Django Unchained.
Right.
This is one that I did see right away in theaters. I didn't like it at first. I was like, yeah, this is a little much, like on the language and stuff. I was like, okay. And then I watched it at home and loved it. So I mean, it just happens that it depends on how you're feeling that day. And I was with my grandma too, so I don't know.
This just tells me you like hearing the N-word at home.
Yeah, it was. I just wasn't used to seeing DiCaprio as a bad guy either, and I was just like, man, he's such a piece. Man. But I mean, now it's amazing. Like I think it's just, I love the music, the performances. Christoph Waltz, man. I don't know.
He was awesome.
I hope they work together again on the 10th film. Please cast him in that.
Anyways, that's my number 5. Oh, number 4 was Django Unchained.
Oh, I was gonna say we matched up.
Yeah. Number 4 was Django Unchained. I love this movie too because of the way it's shot, the way the blocking is, the way it's shot. I mean, the one scene that's burned into my brain ever since I saw this was when Django is in his bright blue suit and he's walking, and it has a shot where he's walking, and then you see the girl swinging on the tree swing, and it's in slow motion almost, and he's walking, and that shot is just burned into my brain ever since I saw that. I mean, it's just beautifully shot.
I like the blood splattered cotton. I think that's what it.
Oh yeah.
The flowers or whatever, the white flowers or cotton. Maybe it's cotton.
Yeah, it's cotton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love that whole scene when he's when they're at the plantation and they're going after the brothers.
It's really like it's a buddy film. It's a revenge film. It's a romance. I mean, there's a lot of great themes in here. It's like an anti-slavery movie, so it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, and I rewatching it, there was a little bit subtle inspiration from like buddy cop movies like Lethal Weapon. The banter back and forth between Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz. I mean, just the whole movie. This is
the montage of becoming a bounty hunter with the Jim Croce song rolling down the highway.
Yeah. Which is odd because it's like, if I was to make that montage, I wouldn't even think that song would match the montage. But Tarantino makes it work. I don't know if I should say this is a fun movie, but I always want to say it's a fun movie.
Well, I agree with that now. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
like it's interesting how fun it is, but it's some serious subjects too.
Well, and then the part where they're when they first meet Leonardo DiCaprio and they're in the horse-drawn carriage and they're going to his plantation, and then they stop and see the slave in the tree.
Yeah.
And how brutal that scene is, because you're not expecting it to be that brutal, where he's being ripped apart by the dogs.
I think they said it was pretty tough to shoot that scene on set anyway.
I think they said that they were crying when they were shooting that scene. And but I had a friend of mine debate me on that scene, saying it was needless. There was no reason to have that scene. When you watch the end of the movie, if you didn't have that scene, you wouldn't realize how brutal DiCaprio is, because he's so charming and he seems like he's not that bad of a guy. But then you see him,
he's irredeemable from that point on. Like, there's no redeeming this character. Like, he is such an evil person. I do have the Zorro and Django comic.
Oh, nice. Oh, cool.
I haven't opened yet, but
I'm interested to see that in there. That will be his series, Django and Zorro. Never know. All right. Well, let's move on to.
All right. Number 4, as we said, was Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
So, what's your number 4?
Number 4 was Django.
Okay.
Number 3 is Jackie Brown.
Okay.
I mean, and when this movie came out, nobody really liked it.
They're expecting Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, they're expecting Pulp Fiction Part 2, and it's not. Everything in this is just great. Yeah, I mean, everybody's great in this movie. Robert De Niro.
Playing off type. I mean, he's playing a stoner.
Yeah.
This guy just got out of jail. He's doesn't know how to work in society. He gets stoned with Bridget Fonda. He's kind of a loser, and he works for Samuel L. Jackson, who's like a big guy. He sells guns and stuff, and just their opening scene where they're watching that gun show. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
hilarious. It's
When you
just,
absolutely need to kill every mother effer in the room, there's no substitutions, and that's what they use. I don't know if you remember. That's what they used the trailer, the opening of the trailer with.
I never
Was
seen
that
the trailer
scene.
ever. I never seen
Oh,
it.
the trailer is great. I saw the trailer. I'm like, I got to see this movie. We'll talk about this more when you do your pick.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay.
All right, top 3 now. Inglourious Bastards. This is the one. This is my gateway into Tarantino that really got me hooked. Saw it in 2009 in theaters. Absolutely was blown away. Ended up skipping a couple classes to go see it again. Amazing, just insane. The actual first iteration of his like alternate history. There's so much to love about this movie.
Well,
Where do you have it?
You'll find out.
All right.
Brad Pitt. I love Brad Pitt in
Oh,
that
yeah.
movie. I mean, he is just. I think it's honestly, in my opinion, I think it's his best role he's ever done.
I don't know if I can go that far. But the opening scene, though, I mean, that might be some of the best work that Tarantino's ever written. The opening 10, 15 minutes, whatever how long it is.
Yeah.
The confrontation of,
And that. And talking about inspiration, that is directly pulled from. Crap, what was that movie?
Is it really?
Yeah, it's pulled from another movie. I forget what the movie's called right now.
I
Crap.
didn't know that.
Oh, go ahead and talk. I'm gonna try to look it up because I'm trying to figure out what this movie was called.
Yeah, I forgot the French woman's name. Also, this movie's like half in French. Like it's actually like half of a foreign film, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, German and French, I think, are used in this, and then Melanie Laurent, like she's amazing as Susanna, the girl that gets away. I think she does a great job. I mean, it's a love letter to cinema on some level because she goes and works for a cinema with her husband, and that whole thing at the end, it's just where it all comes together. Like you have all these side things going on. You have the bastards have their own chapter. You have the German confrontation, trying to get the Jews out of the basement type thing. Then you have, Christoph Waltz is hunting Jews. Then it all leads to like this big theater expo and where Hitler's going to watch the latest war film. And it's amazing. It's like everything comes together and it's for this action-packed finale. And it leaves you at the end. It even says like, this might just be my masterpiece. It's like telling itself that it knows what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so it says here that the opening scene was directly taken from The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, where it features a kitchen table, and there's a dialogue between two characters at the kitchen table, and also taken from Operation Amsterdam, which I've never seen.
Nice.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean it's a great movie. I'm going to talk about a little bit more why I love this movie so much. But we're at number 2, right? Yeah.
But that got me into all of this stuff. I went back and watched Pulp Fiction, and then I went back and watched everything else. So
that was really like you said, your gateway into Tarantino.
Yeah.
So you've been baptized with
exactly.
Tarantino.
And the use of David Bowie's song, "Putting Out Fire with Gasoline," where Shosanna is getting ready for war, pretty much, because she's inviting it to her theater.
Yeah, she's putting on the red makeup and a red dress. The scene where she's in that red dress against the black background. Oh man, it just looks it's just beautiful. All right, so my number 2.
3.
Oh, you're on 3? Yeah, I'm on 2. My number 2 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Nice. And this was originally my number 1, but another movie took its place. I don't know. Can you guess? I don't
know. What is that packaging? I've never seen that before.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Let me. Oh, my mouse stopped working. Let me full screen it here so everybody else can see it too. Yeah. So this was a special limited edition that came out. Obviously, it came out. Yeah. So it's got some cool stuff in here. So there's.
Wow.
Yeah, I love. The artwork in this is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the discs, but then you have a little
The 45.
45 in there. And so there's the 45. It's got Little Green Door and
Yep.
Bring a little lovin'.
11.
Yeah. And what's cool too is it also included the chip they used to play the 45 on their LP player. It's pretty cool.
Handy. Nice.
And yeah, so this is the inside.
It's awesome.
And then it includes these. These are pretty cool. Includes a Mad magazine.
Yep. Lousy Law.
Yeah, and so it's just a little Mad magazine comic strip, as parody of Bounty Law. And then you have Kool-Aid. And then you got a picture of his Italian exploitation movie, or poster, not picture.
Oh, Operation Dynamite.
Operation Dynamite. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a pretty cool box set. When I first saw this, I just loved it. I fell in love with every single frame.
Me
I
too.
mean,
Yep.
and this is what Glorious Bastards, I think, is Brad Pitt's best, but this is his second best, I think. I mean, it's just absolutely great in this movie. And Leonardo DiCaprio, again, under the direction of Tarantino, is phenomenal as well. You know, and do you remember when it was first announced? Well, is it this never mind.
Yeah, I do. They were like freaking out. Manson movie? Oh my
I know, a
god.
Manson movie? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? A Manson movie? I was talking to some friends who were like, what do you think he's going to do with Manson? I said, I'll tell you this. I don't know what he's going to do, but it's not going to be what you think it is. That's all I said.
And it
And I
wasn't.
said, Tarantino does not make straightforward movies. You know, he's not going to make a movie just about Manson.
And you have Al Pacino in it. Yeah, you know, your last
And-
performance from that one. I forgot his name.
I can't think what you're,
He's
what
in
you're thinking of.
Lancer.
Beverly Hills
Yeah.
90210 guy.
Yeah.
Perry, Matthew, not
Yeah,
Matthew
Luke Perry.
Luke Perry.
The last performance from Luke Perry.
Yeah.
You have Timothy Olyphant in this.
It's a really fun, uplifting, just a good movie.
It's a time capsule to the '69. There's so much history in it that makes you want to, or references in it that make you want to go back and watch it again. And then also, like, I researched like all of the references that were in it. Watched
yeah.
the movies that I went back and watched The Great Escape. You know, I went back and watched
Man,
a lot of the older.
that scene is so good.
Yeah, it's like, man, it's just there's so much film history in this, especially for the '70s times. It's just, you know, that's why I went and saw it like 7 times in theaters and 2 times in IMAX, and
I
that
saw
was
it
just
4 times. Yeah.
yeah. But when you watch it the first time, at least I felt in theaters, I felt like the Manson thing was hanging over the film though. I was waiting for
Yeah.
him to show up a little more. They went to the Spawn Ranch. They showed his girls.
Which, I mean, even before Kevin Smith said this, when I first saw it, I could not. The blocking in that scene is incredible. I think it's one of the best blocked scenes I've ever seen.
The Spawn Ranch.
Yeah, this whole scene is Spawn Ranch, and you're going up to this house and you don't know what's in the house, and then,
Cliff could die right here.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking through the entire sequence. You're thinking Cliff could die at any second. And then when he meets Bruce Dern, and that scene is just, I think that scene's hilarious. How he meets Bruce Dern.
You know, the way that Pitt plays with Cliff Booth, or the way Cliff is just so confident and doesn't care. He's just like,
yeah, whatever.
Well, I guess I'll wake him up. You know.
But then going back to what you were saying about the TV, music from the TV as he's walking down the hallway, it gets more and more suspensefuler. And then he walks and like, doo-doo. I mean, it's just great, that whole scene. And that, I mean, we can talk about this later. We can move. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about this more when you do yours.
My number
right.
2 is Jackie Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
This one surprised the heck out of me, man. It's just like you said, coming off Pulp Fiction. I mean, of course, I know I watched it way after that. You know, I had heard it was the worst movie that he's made.
Yeah.
And I put off watching it. I have the Elmore Leonard novel that's it's different. It's a lot different actually than what Quentin did. It's because it's like Quentin's adaptation, so people kind of mark it for that too, where he
Yeah,
didn't
he's
really go
not
into the story or the characters.
so
But man, he shows maturity here, I think, with the restraint, the character development. It's definitely foreshadowing to Kill Bill Volume 2, then what he does in Glorious Bastards, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, with the way that he uses the camera and builds the characters, lets them kind of breathe. And like we talked about with De Niro playing off character and Robert Forster, this movie made me go back and watch all of his films. I was lucky enough to go to the New Beverly Cinema, which Tarantino owns, and I watched a double feature of Alligator and Jackie Brown.
Oh wow!
On film, so that was like amazing.
That's a double feature.
Oh yeah, because if you look at Alligator, Robert Forster's character was inspired Max Cherry. Inspired. That's what Tarantino thought of while he was writing Max Cherry, was that character in Alligator. He's like, I'm writing this role for you, Robert Forster, and the studios didn't want Robert Forster at all. You know, he was like this B actor at best at the time, and ended up getting like an Oscar nomination.
That's what I was just looking at, because I thought he did, but I wasn't 100% sure. But only nomination for that movie, and it was Robert Forster. I mean, again, I haven't seen a lot of his movies, but from what I have seen, I think this is his best role.
Oh, by far. Yeah.
I mean, he's just phenomenal in it. To me, he makes the movie, and then next is Pam Grier.
Their chemistry on camera is just insane. Like the scene where he's picking her up at the jail, I was like, and the balls that Tarantino has to like set the camera on Forrester's face as she's coming out, and have like that slow-mo zoom in. That's the restraint I'm talking about. Like, man, this is a mature filmmaker right here, and he was only like maybe 30, or if that.
I think so.
But,
yeah, I mean, and I remember, again, Siskel and Ebert, they loved the movie, and that's what they were talking about. They were talking about the difference, how much he matured from Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, to Jackie Brown. And I remember him saying, this is a filmmaker. And it just shines with Jackie Brown.
It would have been easy to just do the same thing over, do another Pulp Fiction or do another crime movie, but it is crime, but it's a different kind of.
It's not pulp.
Yeah.
And what I loved about Jackie Brown too is it's set in modern time, but it looks like it was set in the 70s. Especially that opening shot with Pam Grier at the airport, and she's on the ground escalator or whatever it is, and it moves, and the music and everything.
That's The Graduate. That's totally The Graduate.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's just like, so that's one thing I loved about Tarantino, is that, it's a lot of his movies, well, the movies that are set in modern time, but yet he still makes it look like it was set in the 70s.
Right.
And I love that as well, because it just gives that extra.
Helps too, definitely.
Oh yeah, it just gives that extra flavor, that extra atmosphere.
My favorite line, I think, is when Robert Forster's co-worker is like, what are you gonna do? He's like, you're gonna go to the movies, and he's like, what are you gonna see? And Robert Forster's like, something that starts soon and looks good. I just love that line, and it's just the way that Robert Forster delivers it. And then at the end, I just love the editing, where they have the different times between the drop off, because they're trying to get the money and all that, and
and it was surprising. I mean, I've never read the book. I don't know if it's. I'm sure it's in the book when De Niro shoots her. And I mean, I was surprised when I first saw that. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here. Yeah. And then he's like, say, I didn't know what else to do. I had to shoot her. I didn't know what else to do.
And then there's that moment where Samuel Jackson is just like, he thinks, and then like the whole movie like pauses, and we can like feel him thinking on what to do, like the disappointment that he has.
Oh man, it's definitely one of those movies that when you first watch it, you're not going to pick up on everything, but if you watch it again and again, you're going to like it more and more. Is he the same character, or is this in the same universe as Out of Sight? And I'm like, well, it's written by the same author, and it's
the same universe for sure.
Yeah, it's basically the same universe, and so I think that's cool too that Tarantino, because I think this came out before Out of Sight. I think that came out the year
did.
after. So it's pretty cool that he how that worked.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Jackie Brown, give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean it's a great movie. All right, so my number one, surprise, surprise, Inglourious Bastards, and this is the 10th anniversary edition. I love the artwork on that.
Yeah. Not the 4K.
No, guys, if you haven't seen my 4K comparison, go check that out because the 4K on this is absolute garbage. But yeah, this 10th anniversary, and really quick, this came in a box set, and it came with this booklet here. Let me full screen this. Full screen is here. So it comes with this booklet here. So you got just stills from the movie. Basically, it's just stills from the movie. Not much writing.
I always forget Fassbender's in it.
Oh, yeah. I do too. And then this is an envelope. It opens up, and it includes... I haven't opened these yet, so I haven't looked at them, but kind of like trading cards. Kind of when they were...
at the bar.
Yeah, when they were playing the game, when they're putting the card on their head.
Uh-huh.
So that's cards. And then it includes, like, lobby cards. So that's kind of cool. I saw this movie opening night. I loved, just like with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I loved every single frame of this movie. I mean, like what you were talking about with the opening sequence. I mean, it's suspenseful. The dialogue is just, you're locked into that scene completely. But I loved as like each scene as it progressed, I loved it more and more and more.
Yeah.
With the next scene where the lineup of Brad Pitt's crew,
Bastards, yeah.
The lineup of the bastards, and I mean I'm going to show it here, but when Brad Pitt does a close up of him, and each time he says his line, he gets closer and closer to the camera, and then he's like, "Sounds good," and I mean it's just hilarious because he talks about, we're going to kill the Nazis. We're going to, it gets pretty graphic.
I'm going to get my scalps.
Yeah. He talks about scalping them and gets kind of a little bit graphic with, and then sounds good. It's just like, I mean, that's what I love too, is that it had like really dark stuff, and then all of a sudden a quick line or quick scene that made you laugh and lighten the mood. The Jew Bear, which at the time I didn't know Adam Sandler, right? Was originally.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know what that was, like Tarantino's first choice, but he had an obligation or something.
Yeah, and I'm so curious to see
that would have been so different. That would have
been like. Yeah. But Eli Roth, which I'm not a huge fan of, but he did perfect in that movie. Man, his acting in that movie is great. The humor, and I love the ending with the theater. Well, with the theater blowing up, and it's great too because. It's great too because she has her agenda, bastards have their agenda, and they don't know each other has the same agenda.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love that because in a typical movie, they would find out and say, and join forces and do it together. They're doing two separate things, and Shoshana wins because she's the one. I mean, and what's funny too is she was going to set the theater on fire. They're going to blow up the theater. Either way, Hitler would have died. And so, yeah, I mean,
I think they both win too. I mean, because I mean, he's such a bad guy in this, and it's so perfectly well done by Christoph Waltz, who was kind of like an unknown film actor. He was more of a stage actor at the time. He was a big discovery for.
In America, nobody knew who he was until this movie came out. I know he's huge in Germany and Austria, but nobody knew who he was here. So it was genius on Tarantino's part. And Tarantino spent, I think, almost 10 years trying to cast that role because he needed the perfect person for that role.
Oh, it's Hans Landa, right? Or it's Hans, isn't it?
Yeah, Hans. That's what it is. Yeah. And so he spent a long time trying to perfect his casting for that role. And then I guess he saw him in a couple German films, and he's like, "That's him. That's my
the guy."
And I mean, perfect casting. That's the thing about Tarantino too, is that he takes his time. And some people are like, "Oh, come on, when's the next movie coming out?"
You can't rush it, man.
The longer the wait is, the better you know the movie's going to be. I mean, you can't rush it, and I'm happy that he's not in a rush to get his next movie made.
Right.
And then at the ending, as soon as it does the POV shot of the German on the ground, and they lean in and says, "Well, I think this is my masterpiece." Right there, I said out loud in the theater, and it is your masterpiece. It's like what you were saying. It's like Quentin Tarantino saying, "This is my masterpiece."
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like I said,
Yeah, it's the first one out of his revisionist history. So
yeah, I mean, between these two, it's always a gamble. I mean, first, originally I picked this as my number one, but then the more I thought about Inglourious Basterds, the more I liked.
Well, it is my number one. In case you guys didn't know, so
I had no idea.
yeah, it's. I mean, we can show pictures, but I have the posters. I got all kinds of memorabilia from this movie. So it's definitely a clear winner for me. But like we said, you can't go wrong with any of these movies. Actually, if somebody were to pick like Death Proof to be number one, I could understand that. You can make a claim.
I'd be like, okay,
you can make a claim for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, like I said, if you would have picked out the Four Rooms as your number one, the segment of Four Rooms as your number one, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
I would have said maybe you're not a Tarantino fan, but
No, I mean it's true. It's like you could pick all those movies are. It's so hard to pick number one because all the movies are so great. They're memorable. They're rewatchable. Their lines are just amazing. The acting. I mean, if someone was to ask me to tell me what's the perfect director that makes the perfect movies, I'd say Tarantino.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying Christopher Nolan. No, I mean I like his movies, but I don't think they're perfect.
I think Tarantino has perfect casting. You look at what the people that have been in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Sydney Sweeney, she went on and did Euphoria. Austin Butler's Elvis.
Oh, right, she is in that. I forgot.
Yeah, Austin Butler's in Elvis. I mean, you've got Margot Qualley. She's done some stuff. Made. She was in Made, the TV show, but she's got some stuff coming up. So a lot of like new and upcoming actors, and you also have Brad Pitt, Leo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie.
I know. It's just amazing, and
to have the guts to go back in time and change history, to give Sharon Tate her due. I mean, it's gutsy filmmaking, really. It's risky. To shut down Hollywood Boulevard and rebuild it as 69, I mean, it's unheard of.
The only person I could think that can do that would be Spielberg and Scorsese. Could do that. But anybody else, they'd be like, you're nuts. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend the money to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And Tarantino, that just shows how much clout Tarantino also has in Hollywood. I mean, he can get whatever he wants made. Just like he says, the studios aren't in the movie making business. When they're making a movie with me, they're made in the Quentin Tarantino business. And it's true. I mean, people may think, well, that's a big ego. Well, no, it's true.
He backs it up, though.
Yeah, he completely backs it up. And I'm glad he wasn't in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Inglourious Basterds.
He's on the poster. Like, he's very small on the poster as like the little director. But I mean,
I mean, and the scene that won me over for Leonardo DiCaprio is the trailer scene when he's in his trailer. I mean, that scene is just
you're gonna quit drinking.
I just love that scene so much.
It shows perfectly like the insecurity of the actor, because even when he's talking to Marabella, Marabella Lancer and the little Julia Butters, that scene is awesome. It just because he's so insecure in that scene and she's so confident. Like, she's so prepared, and he's like, really? I'm choking on cigarettes, and I can't even have my book straight up, So it's such a wonderful movie, man. I could go on and on, but I know we don't have all day.
Yeah, we're almost at 2 hours here, man.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was be that long. Yeah, I mean, we can go on and on and on, talk all day long about our favorite scenes. But one thing that I did like about it is he made the scenes where Leonardo DiCaprio shooting his Western. He directed it as if it was a real movie.
Yeah.
He didn't. Most movies, when you see that, you can tell, okay, this is a movie within a movie. He didn't go that route. He directed it as if it was its own solo movie, to the point where even myself, I was getting into the scene, and then
I forgot.
Yeah, and then when it cut, when Leonardo DiCaprio said, "What's my line?"
Forgot his
Or
line.
cut or whatever. Then I was like, "Oh wait, yeah, we're watching a different. This is a movie within a movie." Yeah, I mean the way he does, just perfect, just
Yeah,
absolutely perfect. And again, I can't wait to see what he does for his 10th movie.
I can't either.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap this up here. But yeah, guys, if you're still watching this after 2 hours, let us know in the comments what your favorite Tarantino movies are. Rank them for us in the
Yeah, rank
comments.
him down for us.
And yeah. All right. So we probably won't do. I'm going in for hand surgery next week, so we probably won't do another one of these videos for a few weeks or more. But we do plan on doing another director spotlight. And yeah, I think next time maybe do choose a director that we both don't absolutely love, where there's some,
Yeah.
we'll go that way. All right, guys. So we will see you next time.
Maybe let us know if there's a director you guys think that we could cover. I mean, let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Great idea.
Open to feedback if there's any out there. But yeah, thanks for watching. And yeah.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys want. If you guys, what directors you want us to spotlight. And yeah, guys. So we'll see you later.
All right.
Keep on watching cinema. I don't know what to say.